It has been a minute since we've been able to talk about AYN. They are a company that makes the Odin and the Odin 2 Mini. I love their devices, and they're consistently some of my favorite and some of the best values in gaming. I've recommended their devices for quite some time, and they just overall have been a very compelling company to choose from. Consistent in terms of quality, reliable in terms of shipping, but they have had some problems with their PC handhelds. But I haven't heard very many complaints when it comes to their Android stuff. And if there are issues and I've just been lucky to not run into them, leave them down below because I would like to know in case of any future problems. Aside from that, they have consistently made some of the most compelling devices. And with the recent announcement of the AYN Odin 2 Portal, it is a very interesting device, seeming to be targeted at the AYN Evo. Before we get into the comparison though, I would like to just give you a quick rundown of what this new Odin Portal device entails. From what we've seen so far in the trailer and what's been confirmed, we should expect to have a 7-inch 120Hz OLED display with a zero bezel design, which I've talked about before, I don't necessarily care for, but in this instance, it does look quite nice. We also know that it should be running the same Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 2 processor found in the original Odin 2, though we do not know what kinds of configurations we're going to have. I hope we have an 8GB model being around $350, but we'll get into my speculation on pricing and tiers and whatnot later. We also know it will have Hall effect joysticks, which are pretty convenient to have, but their big selling point, the big marketing push for this device is going to be that 7-inch 120Hz OLED display. Moving on to the comparison to the Pocket Evo from AYN, this device compares very well in some areas and a little weaker than in some others. The Pocket Evo is going to be about $500 once it is fully released. That device will come with a 1080p 7-inch 165Hz OLED display, a Snapdragon G3X Gen 2 processor, standard Hall effect joysticks and triggers, which are really nice to have, a nice big zero bezel-less display. Of course, it comes with active cooling and all of AYN's special Space and AYN home launcher stuff. Going forward, I'm going to refer to the Pocket Evo as the Evo and the Odin 2 Portal as the Portal for simplicity's sake. The Evo does have the Portal beat in terms of screen refresh rate. Something to consider, the high refresh rate screen isn't all that useful when it comes to emulation. It's going to be pretty much only exclusively useful when you're playing native Android games like Warzone Mobile, etc. And even though the G3X Gen 2 chip found in the Evo is more powerful than the Gen 2 found in the original Odin 2, I doubt you're going to be able to run any games higher than 120 FPS in the first place. So I feel like the 120Hz screen is just more practical in that sense. Hopefully, it's a good enough way to lower the price enough that it's cheaper than the Evo. Moving along to the speculation side of things, I hope there are multiple tiers of the Portal device, because I really don't want to pay at least $500 for this device like the Evo. With the lower refresh rate screen and the less powerful SoC, I hope that's enough to push this device in close to the $350 to the $400 price point. Ideally, I would love to see a $350 128GB with 8GB of RAM model, and then for $400, like a 12 or 16GB model with 256GB of storage. I feel like that's a fairly reasonable price, especially considering the original Odin 2 with 8GB of RAM and 120GB of storage is around $330. We don't have a confirmed release date, but I am fair to assume that it will release sometime early next year, around the same time as the Evo device from AYN. Though for me, the way this fits into their product lineup is a little bit more confusing and makes the decision which device to buy a little bit harder. Assuming they're keeping the original Odin 2 on sale at the same time as the Portal, it does complicate things especially, but if they do keep all of those devices on sale at the same time, I would love to see the original Odin 2 receive some sort of price reduction, because that will turn an already amazing deal into an even better deal. And if you want a more premium experience, the Portal will be there for you if you wanted that. Assuming the device will be around the $400 to $350 price point, because at that price point, I feel like it will hold itself quite well against the Evo. The Evo might be on paper more powerful, but when it comes to emulators, it still does lack that optimization, but that power will show itself in the form of sheer graphical power in native Android games. I guess a good way to think about it is if you're more into playing Android games and you want to also play emulators, the Evo's the way to go. And if you want a dedicated emulation device, the Portal might be the way to go. They're just two devices optimized for two different ways of playing. For me personally, I am more into emulation than I am playing native Android games. Though there are some pretty good native Android games, or even native Android versions of some of the most popular indie games like Stardew Valley, Dead Cells, and many others. Other than that, I would love to hear what you guys think. Are you interested in either of these devices? If so, which one do you care about more? Are you interested in the more gaming in original Android game oriented Evo, or are you more interested in the more emulation, potentially more budget-focused Portal? I would love to hear what you guys think down below. And I know it's a short one, but there really isn't a huge amount to talk about quite yet. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And last but not least, have a wonderful day.